It really boggles my mind how many of you know my most crazy and unhinged opinions about books, but you don't really know me as a person. But today that changes because I'm going to answer all the questions that you guys have been wondering, the wholesome ones, the chaotic ones, or even the ones that kind of made me regret opening a Q&A in the first place. Hello, my gorgeous viewers and readers. I hope your weekend was filled with icy cold morning walks and boiling hot matcha lattes, which, in my opinion, makes the perfect combination for reflection on oneself and also to ask uncomfortable questions. Some time ago, I posted a story on my Instagram celebrating our 1,000 subscribers, which is still insane, by the way. Thank you so much for all your support. I really, really appreciate you guys. I love you guys so much. Thank you again. But yeah, I posted a story where I asked you guys to send me all the questions that you have about me or about the channel just to make a Q&A video, which is obviously this one. And honestly, you guys really delivered. I really love all the questions. Again, thank you so much for all these questions. But yeah, today I thought it was a good opportunity for me to actually tell you a little bit about myself, but also about the story about this channel. So without any further ado, let's go. I have separated all the questions in three categories, which are questions about myself or about the channel. The second category is about books and literature in general. And then the third question or the third category is about my journey as a writer, because as many of you know, I am trying to publish a book. Well, I'm trying to finish writing a book and then publish it traditionally. So again, without further ado, let's start with the first category. The first and most obvious question that I got on my Instagram was, I've been following you for a while and just realized I don't even know your name. So I guess I'll start with that question mark. And honestly, that is on me. I can't believe I've had this channel for a year and a half and actually have never introduced myself. So hi, my name is Victoria. I am the sole creator of Darkest Hour Reads. And if you don't know already, I love reading. This is actually my entire personality. I also love academia and all things gothic and horrifying. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. The second question, which always makes me laugh, is, I love your accent. It's so sexy. Where are you from? So for all of you who don't know, I am from Catalonia, Spain. So it's in the northeast part of Spain. And I was born and raised in a very small farming city in the middle of nowhere. Literally, there are more pigs than people, and it shows. But yeah, I was born in Spain. I lived there for 20 something years and then moved to England around 5 years ago. And the rest is a very chaotic and long part of history. Related to this question, another person has also asked me, where does my interest in literature come from? And if you have watched any of my videos, you know for a fact that I studied clinical psychology and then did a master's in value anthropology here in the UK. But obviously, there is not much relation between literature and psychology, but my interest in books and in reading has always been a part of my nature. Basically, my family has always been like very much into reading. My dad is a huge nerd of the Lord of the Rings. He has all the books. He has read them like multiple times, which also makes a lot of sense because I am also a nerd. But more specifically, I got my interest in literature and in reading thanks to my grandma, who actually taught me how to read. And that connection has always been very special to me. And every time I read, I always get reminded of my grandma. And also my sister loves reading as well. So I feel like everyone in my family is obsessed with reading. Another very interesting question that I got was, what made you start your YouTube channel and why did you choose book related content? So obviously, as I mentioned before, I have always been interested in reading and in literature, but I became fascinated with content creation back in my uni days. But I have always been very shy in front of a camera. I don't really know why, but yeah, I just freeze and it takes me ages to actually record a video, even nowadays, right? But then I read The Power by Naomi Elderman, and honestly, I was so obsessed with this book. I had the need to discuss it with everyone, right? I went to every single community on the internet to talk about it. I will also took their ear off to everyone that could or wanted to listen to me, and then realized that I cannot speak about a book for like 40 minutes, for example, and realized that there is not that much like discussion about books in general. So it dawned on me that if I wanted to create, or if I wanted to be in a community where people can discuss books freely, I actually had to create said community. And then here we are, a year and a half later, we have Darkest Hour Reads, where everyone can just come into my comments or into my videos, and we can just discuss any sort of books or any sort of ideas for hours. I just wanted to create a community where people feel comfortable to discuss and to talk and to even argue as well. The fourth question that I got was, what is something people would be shocked to learn about you? And honestly, this is a question that I find a little bit hard, because I am a very boring person, even if you actually don't believe it. I see all these influencers that have these sort of crazy lives, right? They have like all this lore behind them, and me, I am not really that like amusing, right? But there are two things that I think would make people surprised about me. The first one is that I used to be a pro artistic skater. I used to compete nationally and also regionally for around 10 years more or less, since for all my teenage years and then my young adulthood, and then stopped competing and skating altogether once I moved to England, which I actually low-key miss. But yeah, there are not many options here in the UK. But yeah, I used to be a pro artistic skater back in Spain. The second surprising thing about me is that I love sewing, crocheting, knitting. That's something that I also learned from my grandma. But yeah, as someone who has ADHD, crocheting, knitting, or sewing as well are the best things that you can do if you cannot sit still. Like literally, crocheting has actually saved my life from actually combusting if I have to sit still in the same place, because it just keeps my hands occupied. Another question that I got about me was, as a content creator, what does a typical day in your life look like? And honestly, it is painfully boring. Like, I don't have this sort of life where I go to all these crazy events, create all this content. Obviously, because I am a small content creator at the moment. Obviously, we are manifesting here. But yeah, my life is very plain. I usually wake up, have breakfast and get ready to go to work, go to my 9 to 5, and then commute back home, and then either create some content or read, or actually just rot on my sofa until dinner and then just go to bed. That's how my usual day looks like. And then during the weekends, obviously, I spend more time either creating this content, or I just like hang out with people, because obviously I really try to have a social life, because as someone who is extremely introverted, I would absolutely do nothing. I would just be at home, just not hanging out and not seeing a single person and not speak for 2 days. But yeah, I force myself to hang out with people, because at the end of the day, I love my friends. But yeah, my life is not that interesting. Even as a content creator, I usually just keep it very low-key, and I am very plain. Now, getting into the second category, which is about reading habits and favorite books, one of the most interesting questions that I got was, what book made you fall in love with reading? And honestly, this question is so fun, but it's also so difficult at the same time, because I feel like I have always been with a book in my hand, right? I have always been reading something in any sort of way, right? Either like traditional publishing, comics, manga as well. I have some mangas over here. Let me know if you want some recommendations. I have so many, honestly. But yeah, I have always spent my time reading. But the first books that I remember reading, or that I remember being obsessed with, are the Geronimo Stilton books. I don't know if you guys had them here or like have them in your country, but I used to be obsessed with these books. Honestly, like I could read one of these in like 2 hours, because I was just like eating them up, right? My mom would always tell me like, take your time reading this book because I'm not buying you any more books. You are costing me a fortune. But the book that actually changed my life is Memorias de Don by Laura Gallego. All my Spanish buddies know this book, and honestly, I think it's so iconic for us. So I remember being 13, 14 years old, more or less, and I was going through a very rough patch. I was being severely bullied in school. I was going through extreme loneliness, and also the usual like teenage girl identity crisis that everyone goes through, right? But I remember reading this trilogy, reading all the books, and realizing that these books are actually not just entertaining me, they actually saved me. They shaped these books actually shaped who I am today, right? I wouldn't be the same person if I wasn't. And actually, this is very niche as well. And I think this might surprise you guys, but I actually have the logo of the books tattooed on my name. Let me see if I can show you guys. But yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, this is actually the logo of the books. That's how obsessed I was with these books. Another really cool question that I got was, what genres do you absolutely love and which ones you hate with a passion? And honestly, if you have been in my channel already or if you are a subscriber, you have a pretty clear idea of which genres I usually gravitate towards, right? Which is anything gothic related, horror, dark fantasy, sci-fi, anything that can be scary or that can make you double think and just make your brain melt. Those are the kind of genres that I go for. And the genres that I hate the most, and probably I would just say one, because it's not even that I dislike the genre, but there are some books that can be salvaged. It's just that I think every single book in this genre is bad, honestly. Like, that's my personal opinion, and it's dark romance, because like all the books that have been recommended to me or that I see from this genre are just absolutely bananas, right? They are always filled with hatred, with violence, with sexual abuse, and I just don't want to read about that. First of all, I don't have the time, and second, I don't have the interest, because this is not just fantasy. And again, you can watch my video about dark romance or about just modern romance at the moment. But yeah, you can watch a video about my personal opinion about dark romance over there. Yeah, you will see why I hate the genre in general. The next question is, what book do you wish you could reread for the first time? And there are honestly so many. I wish I could read so many books for the first time. I wish like I had like partial amnesia and I could just I just forgot about the books that I read so I can reread them again. But I would say the number one book that I wish with my whole soul that I could read again is The Three Body Problem by Liu Cixin. At least, well, the whole trilogy in general, I wish I could reread it because it's just that good. Honestly, it is genuinely the book or the trilogy that has actually shaken me to my core, right? Because there is so much talent, there is so much knowledge, and also the cosmoanthropological theories that Liu Cixin brings into the book are just chef's kiss. And also you can find a review on my channel. But yeah, I would say this trilogy is immaculate and I wish I could reread it all over again. The last question that I got about books and reading habits is, if you could recommend only one book to everyone watching, which book would it be? And Loki, I hate you for asking this question because I have two books and I cannot pick each of them for the life of me. I have to recommend you two instead of one. And the first one is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Surprise, surprise, I always recommend this book, but also The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. And I would say that I can't choose because both of them represent me and my identity at such a deep level, right? I think these two books are the perfect explanation or embody the female rage that I used to suffer with, like, or that I used to have as a teenager or as a young adult, right? These books embody female hysteria, but also they embody the ugliness behind the pressure and behind femininity, which is something that I don't see very often. And yeah, I think they are just so special to me in that way. Now, getting into the last category, which is questions about my writing journey or me writing a book. The first question that I got was, I saw on Instagram that you're writing your own book. That is so cool. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. The question is, what inspired you to start writing your own book? And yeah, I am writing my own book. It's going okay. But yeah, I would say the story, or like the origin story of me wanting to write, is honestly so lame and embarrassing that it low-key makes me want to crawl into a hole. But I will just say it to you guys. I will just tell you the truth, because I feel like there should be no lies between us. There should be no lies in this community. So, as I told you guys before, the book that changed my life is Memorias de Idón by Laura Gallego, right? The whole trilogy. So I remember during that time, I was so obsessed with reading the books that I was reading in class. I was not sleeping, so I could read even more. And that was genuinely the only thing that I did, right? And I remember I was like, in the last pages, and I was just like, I was so excited to see how the book would end. And honestly, the ending upsetted me so much that I remember I was in class, I literally smacked the book, like I put it down my bag, like my backpack. I took my school notebook, put it on my chair, or like on my table, opened it, and immediately started writing like a different ending, because I was just so upset about the ending. It's not that the book doesn't end up badly. It's just like that wasn't the ending that I expected or that I wanted. So I literally immediately took it upon me to change the ending, right? So I remember just writing in my notebook by hand and like changing the whole ending of the story. That is how I started writing. Then obviously I became a teenager. I was like 15, 16, and got into anime, as one does. Obviously, I have all the mangas just up here, and I got into One Piece again, as one does when they get into anime. And if you guys have watched One Piece, you know who the character Porgus the Ace is, who is my favorite character. He is absolutely my husband, right? Like that is like, he is my man, right? And I remember after what happened to Ace, I don't really want to say it out loud just in case someone is watching One Piece right now, but yeah, after what happened to him, I was genuinely so upset. I was mourning the character as he was an actual person, right? But yeah, I remember after that happened, immediately I went to fanfic.s, which is what I used to read fanfiction on. Created my own channel, no, created my own account, and immediately started writing a fan fiction about him. So I started writing because of fan fiction. And also, if you guys, like, if any of you have been to fanfic.s and were reading about like One Piece fan fiction, you have probably read my fan fiction about Ace. I don't want to say the name because I am very shy, I'm very ashamed, and I haven't read the fan fiction ever since. But yeah, you have probably read my fan fiction. I had like 100,000 views on my fan fiction, which I find it crazy. But yeah, you have probably read my fan fiction, which yeah, crazy. After writing these fan fictions, I realized that I could create my own world, right? I don't really remember how it happened, but yeah, I remember just being like, what if I create my own story? And yeah, that's what I have been doing ever since. There are a lot of things that have changed from the start. Obviously, I started writing when I was 14, and the story is not the same because it has been evolving. But yeah, I started writing because of fan fiction, and now I am creating my own story and my own universe. And this is where the questions get juicy, because one of my followers on Instagram actually asked me, can you share anything about the world or themes of your book? No spoilers, please. And Yes, I can. I find it very uncomfortable because I have never shared anything about my story, not even to my friends. This is something that I just have kept for myself. But I feel like you guys deserve it. I cannot say no to you guys, really. So yeah, I'm just gonna share a little bit, just a little snippet about what my book is about. The story takes place in London in 1999, and it follows Sam, who is a young and very charming theology professor in King's College. But even though Sam looks, well, very normal, actually, he carries two very deep and dark secrets within him. The first one is that he is much, much older than he looks, and the second one is that he is cursed because he committed the original sin, which is betraying God. Some of the things that are included in my book are cosmic and religious horror, any sort of mysticism like Kabbalah, Gnosticism, but also metaphysics, as well as spiritual dread, and also a hint of romance. Honestly, the book in general is dark, is gothic, is horrifying, but also it fills you with spiritual and religious dread. Obviously, you could be wondering yourself, what kind of readers do you think will love this book? This seems very niche, right? And obviously, it is very niche, but I would say this book is for all the girlies who have a dark past with religion or see the darkness behind religion. Obviously, maybe being obsessed with cults and stuff like that, but also who are very spiritual and are attracted to mysticism and like think outside the box when it comes to spirituality. Also, obviously, someone who is in love with the Gothic genre or who loves the Gothic genre in general. That is something that will definitely attract readers. And then more personally, I think this book will attract anyone who has lived through the darkness, right? Who has been in a sense or like in a situation of hopelessness, but then came out of it, right? They accepted the darkness and became comfortable in it, right? I would say that that is the kind of readers that I would expect would love my book, and I hope and hopefully they will love it once I release it or once I hopefully publish it. And then last but not least, the last question that I got is, what is the hardest part of writing your book so far? For me, it's time. Obviously, I work full time and I am a small content creator. So obviously, I have to juggle my 9 to 5 with creating content. That gives me very little time to write my own book, which I find it very sad because I am constantly thinking about my book. Like, this is something that obsesses me, right? I am genuinely so wrong. Like, I am ill. I feel like I am losing my marbles, right? And yeah, I would love to write as much as I could, but honestly, I don't really have the time. So I would say that is the hardest part of my writing journey. Those are all the questions that I got. Again, thank you so much if you actually wrote any of these questions. I really appreciate you. But also, if you have any other questions or any follow-ups that you would like to ask, please feel free to put them down below. I will respond to all of them. Obviously, please be nice. Again, as always, we are respectful in this community. But yeah, hopefully this has given you some more context about who I am and also what are we trying to do in this channel. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week and I will see you